What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Ah, forgot to do that in the last video. Um, Four Generations is this one. Right here, this is a watch by Third Eye Watch. They sell surveillance gear and like glasses. Got a quadra chopper. You know, this is a smart watch, camera watch. You know, they sell smart glasses and all that other stuff. I think it's a dope company, so I just said, www.thirdeyewatch.com. Anyway, um, four generations. Four generations. I was on the phone with my mother yesterday, and we were talking about family, legacy, inheritance, that kind of thing. And I was telling my mother that, you know, when parents say things like, I did the best I could, it's taken differently through different generations. And at some point she got what I was saying, because she said to me that, when her parents said they did the best they could, she remembered her parents growing up in the civil rights era, in the struggle and the things that went on prior and after. So she could take what they said at face value and also see it for herself. And I was saying, well, that's true for grandma now and grandpa. You know, I need to start saying grandpa and grandma first sometimes, grandpa first, because sometimes we got too accustomed to just putting anyway. Um, but I said, well, when it comes to your generation, doing the best I could doesn't come across well to my generation, because we watched you guys not do the best you could and just repeat what your parents say. We saw y'all trying to live that Studio 54 life. We saw y'all trying to integrate to the point that you didn't care and you wanted to just be important and validated and looked upon with some kind of reverence by white people, basically. So you didn't necessarily do the best parenting job you could. You did the best uh, repeating job by saying the same exact words. So I said, we don't look at you the same. I guess, your struggle and your parents' struggle is completely different, because your generation is generation, which she said first that yeah, they dropped the ball because they just wanted to say, oh, we're all equal and free, yay, and just walk away. Which, looking back on it now, they see probably wasn't the smartest thing. So I was like, well, see, my generation is kind of different, because we look at y'all like y'all can't admit anything. No, we know that you didn't do the best you could. You know you didn't do the best you could. We know that your parents did the best they could, and you know your parents did the best they could. But it ain't the same thing translating to us, which leaves us in a hodgepodge situation where people who, because I was more so raised by my grandparents than my parents. And a lot of people know what I'm saying when I say that. Like, there are some parents that just that do their thing, and they raise their kids, and there are other parents who financially take care of the kids but don't impart any knowledge into them. My grandparents did most of the knowledge part. My parents were trying to get it together. Um, so my mentality is more so of my parents, my grandparents. You know, so when I look at my parents' generation, I don't look at them. I look at them through the same mindset as my grandparents would. Like, yeah, you said you did the best you could, but you remember when you was doing the best you could and you wanted to go out and party and you didn't want to put the kid to bed? That's not doing the best you could. You remember when you said you did the best you could and you didn't check the homework? When you got home, you just went in your room, calmed down and came back and said, "Here, watch some TV." That'll get you over the hump. That's not doing the best you could. That's my mentality. But we have a half and half society with my generation, where you have a generation who thinks everything goes, and then you have another part of the generation that's like, man, that's some bull. We gotta, we have to be smart and think smart and work smart and use common sense. So now you got those two. You got my grandparents' generation and my parents' generation intertwined with mine, which are two completely mindsets at odds, which brings my child into this, which that's how I get the 4 generations. Now you're watching, which I did a video recently saying, who are our children going to date? Now you're realizing, okay, man, okay, I hope my son don't meet this kind of person. But then again, I met those kind of people. You get what I'm saying? Because just like my parents, they were parents. I said, oh, you just drink in front of the kids and give your baby a little bit of taste. Smoke in front of the kids. See, all the stuff that we see now that is looked at upon as, that is just ridiculous, ignorant, bad parents and dysfunctional behavior at its finest. We forget that there were families like that when I was a kid. See, the difference is the stupid shit that my parents' generations did wasn't on cell phone footage. So now that they can be older and they can be grandparents' age now, which people my parents' age are, they're grandparents now. You kids are so stupid. But forgetting that, you remember when you was doing X, Y, and Z in front of me, and you was doing X, Y, and Z in front of them, and y'all was thinking all that was cute and cool, and then they go, I never did such things. And you sit there like, how the fuck you gonna try to tell me what you never did right in front of me, as if I don't have 2 eyes and a brain and a memory? You so full of shit right now. And because of my grandparents' mentality, just because you lied to me with a straight face doesn't mean I have to believe it or accept it. I could just say, you know what, you full of shit. No. And thus part of my parents' generation and my generation's problem is religion. Because see, my grandparents were spiritual people. Yes, they were church-going people, but they were common sense, practical people too. They was like, look, yo. See, wasn't no mega churches back then. People forget that. My grandfather and grandmother, both sides would tell me like this. Look, let me tell you something. When I grew up, the preacher had a job. All this, get it to the church and give it to me, and I'm gonna ride around. That shit wasn't allowed. If you are successful, you will be successful outside of the ministry, and that's cool. Nobody cared. I bring that up because of this. Because my parents' mentality and my generation's mentality uses God as a scapegoat, anything goes a lot of times. I can do whatever I want, and not taking into account what effects will it have on future generations, because you really didn't care then because you were doing you. And now you see the effects coming up afterwards. You're saying, oh, I went to church and I got saved and I got God and Jesus in my life. Well, here's what you forgot. You may have God and Jesus in your life now, but guess what? You taught your family to do devilish shit the whole time before you got God and Jesus in your life. So you might want to accept that responsibility and do this one thing that will actually change the direction of these generations. Admit you were fucking wrong. Say, you know what? I didn't do the best I could. I wasn't the best parent I could be. I wasn't a good example. And I'm saying that for my generation too, because I can see people in my age group who are doing the right thing and people are ignoring them. And I can see people who just doing dysfunctional stuff and people are hanging out with them like, oh, they so fun though. Yeah. Motherfuckers do not take care of their kids. I don't know how they out with us tonight, doing all this shit. Did you see the kid don't have no haircuts, no clothes? The kid dumb as a box of racks, don't know, can't read, but the motherfucker, yeah, all day long. What kind of shit is this? Oh, you got another drink? Yo, bring it on over to the table. Which is just as fucked up. That's why the fourth generation, what I would say with my child is like, it's like, yo, you don't know who's necessarily winning. You don't know if this is a 50-50 thing between common sense and ignorance, or which, or is it 51-49 one way, 60-40, 70-30? You just don't know. And you start thinking to yourself, this is a problem that includes that racism hasn't even been touched yet. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have to deal with racial problems regardless. But not understanding what is and what's not has become a problem. That's when I did videos about generational wealth. My grandparents, my granddad was about generational wealth. But my granddad died before my grandmother. My grandmother was about flashy. So my granddad wanted everybody to have something, but my grandmother wanted to shine. And I don't mean shining and, I mean like, be the expensive looking person that can just sit around and, I got a pearl necklace and, this fancy clothes and fancy hat, and I bought all of this at the mall. It didn't want me to be that kind of flashy, good, besides her need to spend recklessly, she was a very intelligent woman, but on that part, not so much. So the things that even her mother, my great grandmother, because my great grandfather on that side, I never got a chance. Both great grandfathers were dead before I was born, so I never got a chance to meet them. But I've heard enough about them to know that even my great grandmothers reverenced them so well, because they understood when they died, they left them things, and my great grandmothers did not want to give up anything. Like my great grandmothers passed down property and money to my grandparents. But my grandmothers, were both shoppers to a degree. So they shopped their way into putting the family at ground zero, which my parents have that mentality of, you on your own, because I was on my own. They weren't necessarily on their own, because they were getting splurged on that whole time from the shopping money. But my parents' generation does not believe, for the most that I've seen, not just in my family but outside my family, everybody, you're on your own, you're on your own. And the reverse is this: when these kids who are on their own make significant gains, the same older generation comes to the younger generation. Well, I got these dreams and plans and aspirations, which me and my mother were talking about. I said, see, we the only race. I don't want to say it like that, but we don't think long term to the point where we constantly say the youth gonna change it. It's all about the youth. And I tell my mother, I said, see, that's the problem with your generation. That's something your generation started with, this youth shit, because it's just a slick way to pass the buck. If you old enough and you got the resources to fix it, and you got the time and energy to make a difference, but you wanna buy Benz, and you could see youth gonna do a door, but I'm gonna be at the dealership. I wanna be fly. You fucking up, because at the same generation that wants to shop, which becomes my generation that wants to shop, has the same mentality when it comes to that negativity that says, but you can't take all the money with you. Well, that don't fucking mean you gotta spend it all on yourself either. You ain't gotta die with $1 left. everybody. I spent it all, you ain't got shit. Get your own, get your own. That's dumb, that's fuck, that's stupid. Which, makes me nervous for my child. Cause I'm like, man, I don't know who he gonna be dating. I don't know how the society gonna be. All I know is we got two mentalities at war. So, unfortunately, I have to ask the question, which mentality is gonna win? And that's what time will tell. Peace.